next is going to be activating at events to increase brand value. Because while what Vaughn was saying, you create content and you have to have value for sponsors, you don't necessarily have to race in order to create value. What you do at the events when you're not racing, what you do in between events can be valuable. There's a lot of ways that you can represent and create value for sponsors. Let's pull up Kevin Miller, President, CEO of USAC. Matt Martelli.
Hey, Alex.
How you doing, Kevin? Hey, man. And then Matt, President, CEO of Mint 400, and also the creator of the first original Gymkhana videos through Mad Media, his company. And we have Dan Dennehy Rodriguez from SCCA, Sports Car Club of America. We have Dan up. Right on. Right on. So last time around at the last summit, Matt and Kevin gave a lot of good insights and into how to activate at events. Dan is a first-time panelist on this one, but Dan, I'm going to start with you because my understanding is SCCA has 2,000 annual events with 55,000 active members, and I think 100,000 participants you reach in the different regions. Holy moly. How can you activate? And what are the tricks and what have you learned about what drivers and teams can do at these events to activate on behalf of brands they represent, their sponsors?
Yeah, first off, huge honor to be a part of this panel. Some incredible leadership as a part of this. So it's really an honor to be amongst these women and men. I have a couple different thoughts that I want to share with everyone. First and foremost, the SCCA being one of the oldest and largest sanctions within America, we've got a lot of opportunity to support our producers and race teams. And one thing that I always tell my drivers and teams whenever we're talking about sponsorship is that you need to treat the decals on your car as a celebration of the consummation of your partnership. It is the livery of your car is not the end. It is rather the beginning, and it is an invitation for your spectators and your followers to allow you to represent your brands, right? And so often when, we look behind Alex and we see Bud on Dale Jr.'s car, right? That livery is iconic, but it also invokes emotion. It makes you, align with the driver. And on a regional or club level, you as drivers and teams have all the same opportunity to respond and to act as an ambassador to those brands. So when we talk about activation on driver and team level and club sports, you still have all the same opportunities. To a 6-year-old, a driver is a driver, and you are realizing the same dream that someone in NASCAR, IndyCar, or pro sport is doing. You still have all the same opportunities. It's just a different scale. Some ways that I've seen activation weaponized by drivers that we've actually been able to use ourselves are uses of QR and hashtags. And the reason why I mention that is that although in a race weekend, and whether it's circle track racing, if it's drag racing, drifting, no matter what form of motorsport we're doing, we all have a paddock area. And we all have the opportunity to use our paddock area as an asset. What do I mean? One of our drivers blew my mind by using easily set up displays with QR codes so that when you see him working on his car and you think to yourself, man, what does he have on his build? Well, he represents all of his partners using a QR code so that whenever someone comes up, he can very easily have that conversation of, oh, I use this sway bar, I use this end link, I use this product. Again, offering up a way to act on behalf of partners. And another thing that's also worth mentioning about activation, I think when we think of activation as teams, we think typically of the race weekend. Activation, as Vaughn was talking about, is equal parts using your personal brand, your vehicle, your team to go out to events to support your partners. And some of the best ways to use activation as a point of ROI for a prospective partner is show up at their place of business. Use your personal social circle to go out and support an event. Case in point, one of my own personal partners is a local brewery to me in Pittsburgh. So every time when I do my livery unveil, I do it on site. All my friends and family
Yeah, I wonder why.
They may enjoy a couple of beers, but the deal that I have with that brewery is that the cover goes to me. The beer sold goes to you. But that's a great way of doing a simple activation as a club racer on a personal note that any one of us could use to generate some revenue. I'm really excited to hear the thoughts of others. So I'll let my segment end. Again, thank you very much.
I suspect you spent a lot of time at that sponsor, right?
That is the reason why I look and am this size versus some of our more fit drivers. Yes.
Classic. Classic.
Frankly, I just wish you lived closer so I could come over there and have beers with you. But
Yeah.
no, I think to your point, that's really one of the keys is real activation, like personal activation. We live in interesting times, and I think that now more than ever, post-COVID, people are really yearning to connect with people and with brands, and they want to be engaged.
Matt, you also have beer sponsors, and one of the ways you activate at your events is you actually have a Mint 400 beer.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting because what we started realizing is that we're not big enough for the big companies to care about us. And frankly, I don't drink their beer. So we wanted something that fit our culture. And we wanted branded product, and we know that our consumers will buy branded product from us, and it became a revenue stream. And what our long-term goal is to get that branded product into stores nationally, which is now happening. So yeah, it's really cool sponsorship that we've developed over the last few years. And alcohol and racing have inherently been tied together. In fact, we started racing in America because we were smuggling booze from city to city and state to state. That's how fast cars started being built. So at least we forget that and realize our history. And, in other words, it's also a celebration. You finish a race, you want a beer, we spray champagne, we have hard liquor post event. So, and our spectators drink, throughout the day. So it's a part of the DNA of our culture, and we want to celebrate that, and that's a great example of a really integrated activation. I have a couple of slides that I'm going to share and just kind of walk you through a few things that we've seen at the Mint 400. Let's see if I could do this here. Too many if I can get the technology to work here. Hold on one second here.
We have all these brilliant people on the call and in the room, and we don't know how to put a picture on the screen. I love it.
Right.
Hey, Matt, while you're doing that, I want to say that this wasn't planned, but the Warsteiner logo is in the background on my slide. When you're talking about beer,
there's Kevin.
We actually did exactly that with a beer sponsor, and we at our Porsche series we celebrated every day with a Prost with Warsteiner beer, and it became a huge hit for the drivers to come over after the racing to unwind, and we served pizzas. We had a pizza station and Warsteiner beer, and that experience bonded a lot of our teams, and it really grew the series as well. Very small sponsorship, virtually no money, just free beer from Warsteiner, but it created a party in the paddock that honestly we love the partnership because it brings everybody together. So I just want to introduce.
That's a good point, Kevin.
Interrupt you, but
Kevin, that's a really good point, because a lot of brands sponsor not necessarily for the visibility of their logo during the races, but it is to meet other sponsors, and it's for business to business, B2B, with other brands at the events. So by providing a hospitality tent, either at the series level, like USAC, you do, or at the team level, which is, you got thousands of race teams, they can do this as well. It by providing that hospitality environment, it encourages other sponsors to come into that hospitality because they want to meet the people who are in there. Tonight, we're going to be in a
Yeah.
suite at A1 Supercross, with Monster Energy and all of their VIPs. And I'm excited to watch the races, but I'm way more excited to go hang out and chat with fellow colleagues and friends at Supercross.
Yeah, we'll come back to it
networking is so
after Matt.
powerful.
I think Matt has his slide up now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just trying to double check here, make sure you guys see the Fremont Street.
No, we see a black screen.
I see a black
I think
screen,
you
Matt.
gotta, you just click on play, maybe.
Hold on one second here. Gotcha. Let me keep talking, Kevin. Cover me for a second. I got it.
Yeah, I will. I will.
So, Kevin,
I mean,
you-
go back to
so-
it is the point, Alex, I wanted to bring up, but last time we talked about, and Dan was a great preview into this with,
QR
let's not
codes.
focus on the sticker on the car. Let's focus on the entire package for a sponsor. But a couple of things that I want to really harp on is the experience. I think it's going to lead into Matt Fremont very, very well. But the experience that you're providing sponsors is such a big part of the entire package.
Yes.
When they get to the track, when they're whether it's the food you're serving, whether it's the tickets you're offering, they want to feel like they're part of the competition. They want to feel like they're part of the event. We have a very long-standing sponsor. I think it's going on 11 or 12 years with AMSOIL, and every year we have to deliver more and more to keep them engaged as a sponsor. And we actually bought a 2-seat sprint car last year that this year will make its debut. I think we did it last year, a couple races. We actually purchased a car this year that we're going to now be giving 2-seat sprint car rides on behalf of AMSOIL for their dealers. So for their dealers to come to sprint car races and jump in a car. So that experience part plays well. And Matt, let's talk about Fremont Street.
That's cool because they're passing through, the sponsors passing through that hospitality to their customer.
Right.
And hopefully getting more business from their customers. So yeah, right on. That's a great point. Is you can use your racing, you can use your hospitality, you can use your pit to help sponsors and give them that environment that allows them to do even more business with their customers. So go ahead, Matt. We can now see Fremont Street. I know what that is. Been there many times, every single year, I think. Love that place.
Well, let me first touch on, what Kevin just explained. And one key thing that he talked about is that a lot of times our sponsors are not capable of doing good activations. So we've got to help them, for them to get a car and, and do that type of activation. It just wouldn't be cost effective. So this is something we've discovered over and over is a lot of times that, we've got to package that in with the sponsorship deal, and make sure that they have a successful activation. Because what plagues us as event promoters is, when a sponsor comes and pays X amount of dollars and they show up to the event, there's, for example, at Fremont Street, which is our off-road festival, there's 25,000 people there. And they come back to me and they go, well, we didn't really think it was worth it. And I'm like, what? Like, we just put 25,000 people in front of you. And then now we've gotten in the habit of documenting every booth so that we can go back and look at a photo of their booth and go, oh, well, yeah, you had a 10 by 10 with nobody in it. So of course that's not going to work, especially in the environment that we're working in now, where consumers go to very sophisticated events. The expectation is that we're all sophisticated as well. So the slide on the screen you're seeing is our off-road festival, which we do downtown Las Vegas. And we do it there. It's very actually expensive and inconvenient for us, but we do it there so it's accessible to people beyond off-road racing. We get about 30% looky-loos of people who have no idea what's going on, and they just happen into the event. And so it's a great way to get more crossover people. But that being said, there has to be engagement. This is an example of being aggressive. So on the other side that you can't see is BFGoodrich's booth. On the left side is their merchandise booth. And so they asked me, they said, can we put Rob's truck in the middle of Fremont Street? Now everybody's got to walk around it with a big target on the ground. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, that's a great way to, to engage everybody and to make sure that you're not going to sit back and hope that people see your brand. you've got to be aggressive in in event activation.
And then one of the reasons why this is important is because I saw thousands, probably more than that, tens of thousands, it seems, of spectators stopping and taking selfies in front of that car. They're in front of Rob's truck. They're taking a selfie with Rob. Sometimes Caden's there. Amber's often with them. They're getting photos. Well, those photos don't just reside on a phone forever. Those photos then go to social media. So every spectator, every attendee, every consumer that's walking down the Fremont streets taking photos and selfies is posting most of those on their social, and it's reaching many, many, many more people. So it's not just about seeing the truck, but it's allowing consumers and spectators to have content for their photos that they display on their social media. You're giving them a backdrop with your logo on it.
Yeah,
and
100%. And nothing's more powerful than that type of engagement, because what we want as promoters is we want every single person there to be posting and tagging us and our sponsors. So creating these opportunities for people to take or to create social media content is key.
Mhm.
This is the Rugged Radios meet and greet, which has been going on for a few years now, and it's been fantastic. Really successful program. What Rugged does is they bring all their sponsored riders down to the event, and they have them sign autographs. They've done it now multiple years, so it's become like an anchor point of everybody knows that that's the place to go to sign autographs. It's become actually so successful that a lot of the drivers who aren't sponsored by them actually come and do signatures there, because it's the place to do that.
Right on.
The other key to this that I can't stress more is collecting data. So they collect everybody's email, phone number, address, etc., so that they can follow up with emails and convert these into sales. Right to the right of this, you'll see they are doing sales, which is, again, something that we highly encourage, because the old ideas of like, 3-step distribution and, race on Sunday, buy a Monday. Yeah, cool. It does have an influence, but why not get their money then? Especially with smaller items.
That's a good point.
People are showing up to events nowadays with money in hand, with the expectation that products are going to be available. And I think that, the world's changed now, especially with services like Amazon. I mean, you can order something and hours later it's delivered at your doorstep. So why would that same consumer then come to an event and think that it's okay to look at some product and then, days, weeks, months later, hope that you're converting that into sales? It's a bad marketing plan.
We do live in a world where there's an electronic highway that connects every one of us and every company to every consumer. And that highway, it's digital, it's there. All we have to do is open the doors that, that connect the front door of the company to the front door of the consumer. And email does that, direct messaging does that, social media can do that. But when that door is open, then it allows for that transaction. So someone can be on site and purchase immediately through activation like that. I know, Matt, are you finished? Or I was going to head to Kevin also.
No, I
know Kevin does QR codes, and we have to remove the screen. I think your screen's still up.
Yeah.
So real quick, Kevin, Dan mentioned earlier on QR codes at the SCCA events. I know that USAC, you at the last sponsorship summit, you're talking about how USAC utilizes QR codes. Now, Matt gave a lot of examples how brands activate at events and use the events to activate through their teams. But you also talked at the last summit about how teams themselves are activating for the brands. Maybe the brand is not at the event, but the team is at the event activating for the brand. Can you give some examples of that? And then we'll go to Dan. And Dan, I know that you had an example with Goodyear.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I know there's a lot of drivers, especially a lot of teams on here looking for advice on how do I get sponsored? How do I take care of my sponsors? And number one, like we said, it's not the focus on the single post. It's not the focus on the sticker on the car. You have to look at the complete package. You have to look at the track you're running at, the sanctioning body you're running for, and how they can help you deliver for that sponsor. I think I said this at our last summit, and I'm going to repeat it. Go to your sanctioning body. We have 3,000 people at our typical sprint car race sitting in the stands, which is great for sponsors, right? We have 60,000 people watching online on Flow Sports. 60,000 a night, 4.3 million people watch a year. I don't have one driver at this point. I don't have one driver that walked up to me and said, "Hey, Kevin, can you package my sponsor, my car into your program better?" Now, if I got 4.3 million people and you need numbers to sell to your sponsor, you want numbers. Don't take them the package I give you that says we have 4.3 million people watching and say, this is who's going to watch that sticker on my car go by, because they're not going to see it. Why don't we stop the show? Because at a typical sprint car race, we have over an hour of downtime. Stop the show and talk about your sponsor. Let's go to Brady Bacon, who's a great promoter, and stop our show. I did have one driver that just called me last weekend. Cody Swanson, who's one of our top drivers. And I said, Cody, go out to that sponsor and tell them you're going to do an engagement in the broadcast and whatever they want to do. But take advantage of the broadcast, take advantage of the track you're at. Talk to track promoters you're racing at. They need content too. And you as a driver can provide content for the broadcast, for the track, that is exposing your sponsorship beyond your car, beyond your pit area. And I think that's critical in today's world of delivering for sponsors. You've got to be more than posting. I see a lot of posts with an energy drink on the race car. Every week I see one of those, right? That's not getting it. Engage people more. That's the first thing. And that is, look at the total package of what is provided around you to take advantage of as a team, and reach out to your sanctioning body, reach out to your tracks.
Number quick question, Kevin, how many events a year does USAC put on?
Oh, thousands. I mean, just we have multiple series with rally and off-road, and there's so many things that we're involved in road racing now. But the one I focus on the most is our grassroots program, Sprint Car Midget Racing, because we have probably 1,000 events there over across the country, and we're on Flow Live. And that's where you got visibility. And I don't see teams or track taking advantage of that. Tracks always say, hey, streaming's hurting my business, which, we can debate that forever. And I'd love to do that. However, I tell tracks all the time, give me your sponsors to promote at your race. If we're at Kokomo Speedway, let's run some ads for your sponsors.
Yeah, I love that.
Not one track in the country in the past 2 years give me an ad to run on Flow for their track sponsors. They've given me ads to run to promote their future races, but not for their own sponsors.
And I think you're hearing the president of USAC right now saying, give me content. I do thousands of races a year and I need content. I will air you if you give me content. Matt, is that the same with you? Mad Media in the Mint 400, California 300, UTV World Championship. If a team gave you media, is there potential for you to use it in your programming?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm going to send some media to Kevin because that's those.
I didn't say it was free, Matt.
Well,
awesome.
we can work something out, but no, I mean, he's absolutely right in that, racers need to also look at the promoters as a tool for distribution of content and engagement. We have to do a lot of storytelling in our live streams, about who the racers are, their backgrounds, etc. If we don't know that, you're not going to get coverage. And it's really difficult for us because the Mint, we have, 400 race teams with 1,000 racers at our event. It's impossible for us to know everybody's story, especially if you don't have your program together. Like if you don't have a bio on your website, if you don't have a website, if you don't have a bio on your social media, if we don't know that those basic infos about you, like we can't talk about you, and it's our job to talk about you, so help us help you. I think that, it's a really valid point, as well as it'll help engage your sponsors.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
A good point there. Matt, one thing you could do as a racer, go to your track announcer, go to your broadcast partner,
Yes.
take your resume, take a background sheet. Here's my headshot. Here's my sponsors.
Yes.
Here's where I live. Just like a hockey player, when they go to play hockey in a tournament, they've got a scout sheet, and the teams are leaving behind sheets for all the scouts of all about the player. Take action on your personal self. Go to the announcer. We have Chet, our guy Chet. Give him funny stories about you because he's looking for stuff to talk about too. But you have to take that initiative. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. If you get to know the announcers and let the announcers get to know you, there's a much greater chance of you being on the microphone and on the PA system. Let's close with Dan. Dan, SCCA has thousands of events, but probably not any television or media such as, NBC Sports, CBS Sports, like the others. Your activation is more for the fans that are in attendance, and then the social media that they might hit if they post photos of events. You were telling me, and let's go quick because I know we're at the end of the session here, an example about Goodyear where they did a phenomenal job activating.
Yeah, well, Goodyear did a phenomenal job. It has continued to do a great job activating at our runoffs event, which is our championship road race event, which happened at VIR actually a few weeks ago. Goodyear did a phenomenal job because they took what was available to them. We were hosting a podcast that did a beginning and after variety show for the 3 race days, and worked closely with those talents to make sure that Goodyear was a part of that. And those are some of those very cultural and natural ways for partners to be able to activate at events, and for us as drivers to be able to make those opportunities available is a value add that partners greatly want. Sometimes partners don't necessarily know what can be available. So being transparent and using a lot of ideation with partners can really deliver some great outcomes, which is a fun way that Goodyear got a win fairly recently.
And one of the best, I was going to say, one of the best things that drivers can do at events is hand out coupons and hand out marketing material on behalf of the sponsors. And if you're not handing anything out, perhaps you can collect email addresses or collect leads, because a lot of brands need leads. And if you're in the field and they're watching you represent them, then if the sponsor or the brand knows who that is, then they can reach out to them later. Maybe 15 years ago, I was at a Supercross and DC Shoes was there, and they took photos of myself and my children, and it was really cool because they gave us a little JPEG of it. And it wasn't until a year later that I realized the value, because they emailed me a high resolution file a year later, which was really cool. They first emailed me the JPEG at the event, but 365 days later, I'm still on their database, and now they're reaching out to me. And that email with the picture of me and the kids, of course, came with a coupon for discount on DC Shoes. Click here, get 50% off. And that was really effective. I thought that was smart. So we ran out of time on that session, guys. Thank you very much. Next summit, we're going to do a longer sessions. I promise. This was my bad in scheduling, but I was trying to squeeze a lot in, and I guess not everybody talks as fast as I do. So